When it comes to self-improvement and life improvement, people have a very one-dimensional, black and white attitude about it. Most people imagine that when you see something about yourself that could be labeled as bad, wrong, or detrimental, the automatic answer is to change that thing about yourself. But this actually isn't always the answer. You cannot create a life that is entirely free of contrast. By contrast, what I mean is positive and negative, right? It's not possible because of how this time-space reality was designed. And even if we were to look at something that is positive, there is negative inherent in that positive. Or if we were to look at something negative, there's positive inherent in that negative. We can't entirely get rid of contrast, and as a result, this means that people have to consciously choose their consequences. Another way of saying this is that people have to consciously choose what contrast they will sign up for in their life. To learn more about this, you can watch my video titled, Why You Should Consciously Choose Consequences. Here's the truth. When you see something about yourself, even if that thing could be judged as bad, wrong, or detrimental, you're in fact in a choice point. When you find yourself in that position, at that choice point, you can either decide to choose to change whatever it is that you're seeing, or you can choose to double down on it. If you choose to change it, the first thing that you need to do is to accept the reality of that thing. From there, you're going to put conscious energy and focus into changing it into something that you would prefer. If you choose to double down on something, it's the same first step. The first thing you're going to do is to accept the reality of that thing. But from there, you're going to choose not to change it. Instead, when I use the word doubling down, what you're going to do is to consciously own it and strengthen your commitment to it. And when you do this, the changes that you're making are accessory changes to the things that are around that thing that you have doubled down on. There are a great many things we can change about ourselves and about our lives. There are also a great many things that are not changeable about ourselves and about our lives. Maybe they aren't changeable because of our values, or because of our goals, or because of what matters most to us, or because of our true desires, or because of our purpose, or because of realities we might have to accept, or because of the decisions that we would have to make, or because of the effort we would have to put in order to make a change. And therefore, sometimes what is right for a person is to double down rather than to change something about themselves or about their life. So that you can understand this concept, I've got a couple of examples. We're going to start with Ivan. Ivan has been struggling in relationships immensely. His girlfriends, or I should say his ex-girlfriends, all have the very same complaint about him. Ivan is uber controlling. He likes to dominate everything. He's somebody that has to make all the decisions and call all the shots, and he likes to tell you what to do and not do pretty much all day long. For another person that finds themselves in this exact same scenario, it might be right for them to work through this pattern of control. What I mean by that is maybe finding out ways or strategies to let go of some of this control in relationships, finding ways to establish a more egalitarian style of relationships. The thing is that this is not what's actually right for Ivan. Ivan doesn't really want to let go of this dominating behavior. What it is that he wants to let go of it. So as a result, let's look at what's right for Ivan. Ivan feels shame about it, but he's happiest in relationships and feels most fulfilled when he's the one deciding, and he's the one directing, and he's the one leading, and he's the one telling the other person what to do and not do. After much deliberation, Ivan decides that what's right for him is to consciously enter into a dom-sub relationship. This is dominant-submissive relationship. However, he doesn't want to just do this in the bedroom. He decides he wants to enter into a dom-sub lifestyle dynamic. By doubling down on this behavior, what he does is instead of changing his dominant or controlling nature, he changes the things around his dominant and controlling nature. For example, he decides to integrate the parts of himself that feel guilty about this truth about himself, and he decides to seek a partner specifically within the dom-sub communities so that he can be sure that he is meeting a woman who actually wants and is fulfilled by being in a subordinate role. He also takes tons of classes on how to be a conscious dominant in relationships. And in these classes, he becomes very clear about what that line is between a conscious dom-sub relationship and abuse. As a result of all of this learning, he sets up a structure of safety within his first relationship that he gets into, which is a dom-sub relationship and one that the other person has consciously agreed to because it's what they're wanting. A system where they can ensure that it never crosses a line over to abuse. To give you another example, it has come to Miriam's attention that she has a serious issue committing to a real career. This has been reflected to her many times. She just keeps going to classes and getting certifications that she never uses. Anytime there's an opportunity for an outdoor adventure, she jumps straight into it. She's been going to counseling to face her responsibility issues around adulting, stepping into an adult lifestyle. The thing is, nothing's worked. Now, with another person in this same situation, it might actually be right for them to change this about themselves, to use those certifications by picking a job and sticking with it, to face their fear around commitment to a specific career path, to deprioritize those outdoor adventures. But for Miriam, this isn't actually right. When she really looks into the genuine resistance she has to doing this and why she's been failing over and over again, what she realizes is that her top values are spontaneity and nature. Now, because of this, she decides it's not actually right for her to change this about herself. Instead, she needs to double down on those top values in her life and live her life according to them. Society is very clear about what a person's priorities should and shouldn't be, and the reality is Miriam's values do not align with those priorities. Therefore, she decides to stop trying to get herself to commit to a single career path, especially one that's indoors. What changes is things about herself and her life around that decision to double down on that thing. So what does she do? She has a very serious sit-down conversation with her parents and her siblings about what she's chosen and about the fact that they can never expect a traditional lifestyle or a traditional career like the one that they had in their minds for her. She does breath work to release all of her painful emotions about feeling like she's letting everyone down and fearing that she will never be seen as successful by society's standards. And also, all the pain of realizing the things she will have to choose to give up as a result of choosing this path in her life. Miriam decides that she's only ever going to take a career or jobs that are outside. She decides she only wants to work temp jobs or commit to jobs that have a high degree of variability, where there's no predictability in what she's doing. She's doing different stuff outside every day. Not only that, she decides that she's going to consciously prioritize outdoor adventures. She's going to accept those opportunities anytime they're presented, and she's going to jump on the ones that she comes up with herself. She also decides to further commit to a social sphere of people who share the same values and have the same priorities. She sublets her apartment and buys a camper van to live in so she can go anywhere anytime she wants. And potentially the most difficult, she makes the decision that she's never going to have children. Why? Because these spontaneous adventures are the most important thing for her in her life. And many of those outdoor adventures, because she's an alpinist, are life-threatening. As a result of making that choice, she also decides that she's never going to enter into a relationship with a man who wants to settle down. Because each individual person is so multifaceted, because each person has such unique values and needs and desires and goals, okay. Because each person has such a unique life experience too, it's impossible for me to sit here and tell you, these are the things you absolutely should double down on, and these are the things you absolutely should change. Also, I need to tell you, there are potential shadows inherent in a person deciding in a specific situation to do either. But here are some things that you can consider when you're wondering about whether the right decision is to change or to double down. I'm going to lay some questions down for you. What do you dislike about yourself? What do other people dislike about you? If you took away your concept of good and bad or right and wrong, what personal truth would suddenly be okay to have then? What would you truly want? What does it seem like you can't unneed? Is there something in your life where nothing you've ever done to try to change it has worked? What about yourself do you feel the most ashamed of, but have not managed to change? If you knew that there would be a person who would want exactly what you were afraid that no one would want, what would that thing be? What are you afraid you can't change about yourself? What would you be beyond relieved that you don't have to change about yourself? What matters most to you? Given that truth about what matters most to you, what can't you change that you want to change, or that other people might want you to change? Anytime something comes to your attention about yourself or about your life, you are now by definition aware of it. From there, you can choose what to do to respond to it. You can leave it the way it is, you can choose to consciously change it, or you can double down on it. I want you to remember that in some cases, even when what you might be looking at about yourself or about your life could be judged as negative, it might just be right to double down on that thing and to make changes that accommodate or account for that doubling down. When this is the case, life improvement and self-improvement all become possible as a result of doing so. Have a good week. If you liked this video, be sure to hit the like button, subscribe to my channel, and consider sharing this video with your friends. You can also click on the bell icon to be notified of the next time that I post a video. I want to thank you personally for the bravery that you have to step into awareness. I'll see you in the next video.